Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about the development of neutron moderators for the ESS within the HighNESS project. First and foremost, I want to thank all my colleagues and also the committee of the organization for hosting this talk. Um, First, I want to talk about the upgrade of the ESS after the first design of the upper moderator as a single unit. The space below the target was set free for a possible upgrade at ESS. The primary upgrade path is to account for more instruments. The upgrade area will account for almost 35 instruments, and they will all the 42 beam ports at ESS will be able to look at both the upper and the lower moderator. Before diving into the details of the lower moderator, a few words about the upper moderator. It's a high brightness bispectral thermal and cold source available for all the 42 beam ports of ESS, and it will serve all the 15 instruments of the initial ESS instrument suite. And as I said, it's a single moderator system placed above the spallation target. The HighNESS project goal is to complement the upper source into different aspects by providing a high intensity source, so larger emission surface and bigger moderator, and by providing a spectrum in the colder neutron region, so shift to lower wavelengths, intended to serve directly the instruments, but also to feed a secondary VCN and UCN source. Let's talk about the high intensity cold moderator. The main cold source, it's a box of ortho liquid deuterium at 22 Kelvin. The dimension of this box are 45 centimeter by 47 by 24. So it's a huge moderator vessel with a cold beryllium filter on one opening of 24 by 40 centimeter, which is intended for fundamental physics. And on the other side, instead, a reentrant hole, 15 by 15 for neutron scattering instruments. The moderator vessel is surrounded by 1 centimeter water reflector, and on top a 2.5 centimeter water layer meant as a pre-moderator. And around the vessel and the water reflector, the beryllium reflector. And as you can see from the left picture, the moderator is placed below the target, and the distance to the target has been optimized. Now, let's talk about the performance of the cold source in terms of brightness. As you can see, it's the upper moderator is still performing better, even though for the smallest opening, the performance are almost the same. For what concerns the intensity, instead, the lower moderator is it's performing much better, especially above 4 angstrom. As you can see from the spectrum on the right side. The real winner of this high intensity source, we believe, is the neutron anti-neutron oscillation experiment, which will take place at ESS. And with this optimized LD2 design, we expect a factor 1000 increase in the figure of merit with respect to the previous experiment in 1994. And in this picture, you can see, in the picture at the center, you can see a real picture of the large beam port before the shielding installation at ESS, overlapped with a 3D reconstruction of what the beam port will look like. And as you can see, it will look like both at the lower and the upper moderator. So this is the first major achievement at ESS. Right now, we are still in an optimization phase. In particular, from MaxSAF simulation of the neutron transport, we realized that the major contribution at ESS at the NN bar detector was coming from the center of the moderator window. And as you can see, also on the left side, the 40-meter elliptical guide, which is meant to focus the neutrons at 200 meters away where the detector is placed. So this is a feature of this kind of guide. And so, as you can see, we need to optimize the neutrons, the intensity coming from the center. So we are studying possible shape of emission window with reentrant holes. In this case, I'm showing a truncated cone reentrant hole on the fundamental physics side. And the pinhole image that I'm showing here on the right clearly show the enhanced intensity at the center of the emission window. So in this attempt to match the moderator and the optics. The main source will feed also, with, as I said, a secondary VCN and UCN source. In this regard, we held a workshop on February the 2nd to the 4th, where more than 100 scientists and experts from 23 nationalities joined us. The HighNESS team now is actively working on the several concepts of VCN and UCN sources that came out of this workshop. And if you're interested in knowing more about the workshop, there's a proceeding, actually a publication ongoing in the special issue of the Journal of Neutron Research in 2022. But why the interest in very cold neutron application? Well, a longer wavelength simply imply an increase in observation time for fundamental physics and expansion of dynamic range in neutron scattering. So this is the first and most important reason. For very cold neutrons, we mean neutrons between 10 and 120 angstrom. And as I said, for example, for fundamental physics experiments like NN bar, with the figure of merit proportional to lambda square, this is a huge benefit compared to a cold source. Other possible applications are in interferometry, electrodipole moment measurements, neutron lifetime measurements. So for fundamental physics, the gains, it's pretty clear. For neutron scattering up to 20 angstrom, the benefits of longer wavelengths, it's clear, especially for suns and spin echo. But above 20 angstrom, there's this whole attractive region. There's yet to be explored, especially in suns and spin echo and reflectometry. So having an intense enough source above 40 angstrom, above 20 angstrom, sorry, will be will open a new series of possibilities in neutron scattering in that region. We are studying three possible designs for VCN source. One is using just advanced reflector to increase the transport of the cold source in the VCN range. The second one is to use a dedicated VCN converter, in particular solid deuterium or clathrate hydrates. And the third one is a combined use of liquid deuterium, solid deuterium, and advanced reflector to enhance the very cold tail of the liquid deuterium cold spectrum. This last concept was recently proposed by Valery Niezwijewski and discussed in the workshop, and while the first two were already in the original HighNESS proposal. When I talk about advanced reflector materials, I mean mainly four kind of materials that are currently under study in the HighNESS project, which is non-diamonds, a very well-known VCN reflector, which the thermal scattering library has been developed within HighNESS. The second material is magnesium hydrate. It's also a known cold neutron, a very cold neutron reflector, and the thermal scattering library was already available. And the third is a clathrate hydrates. It is still a pretty new novel material. It's a possible VCN converter or a VCN reflector. The cross-section measurements are actually ongoing within HighNESS, and also we expect to develop a thermal scattering library. And last is the graphite intercalated compound material. In theory, a VCN reflector. There's also a cross-section measurements campaign ongoing at PSI, and the thermal scattering library is also expected to be developed within HighNESS. About the first option of VCN, so the use of advanced reflection to extract the very cold tail of the cold spectrum. Recent calculation have indicated that nanodiamonds are particularly suitable to enhance cold neutrons and very cold neutrons reflection, very cold neutron transport from the moderator surface to the beam port. On the left here, you can see the results that will be presented more in details by Sofia Kokai in this conference, and mostly related to VCN. Instead, on the right, you see an application for a compact accelerator-based neutron source, where nanodiamonds show their potential also for cold neutrons. The second option is using a dedicated source. There are actually two materials that we are considering for VCN converter. One is the solid deuterium at 5 Kelvin. It has a new library available from Rolando Granada. The second material is deuterated clathrate hydrates at around 2 Kelvin. And as I said, this is currently under study. And of course, all of these two materials could be complemented with the use of reflectors such as nanodiamonds or magnesium hydride to increase the performance. The best location we found to be inside the twister. So instead of the liquid deuterium cold source, but the cooling it's turning out to be very challenging, but the results are promising. About UCN, we found 5 possible locations for the UCN source. Many of them were discussed during the workshop, but they can be quickly subdivided into 2 categories, which is Inpile and Inbeam. For the Inpile solution, one of the promising solution is the concept by Serebrov, Anatoly Serebrov. And as you can see, the superfluid helium converter is placed inside a large beam port. So it's supposed to take place after the NN-bar experiment. And the total heat load on the helium, it's estimated to be 8 watt. And this is definitely coolable. So we are confident that this could be a valid solution. Also another promising alternative is an Inbeam option. It mainly consists of a delivery system with high brilliance transfer from moderator to the UCN source. So the neutrons are focused from the moderator to the converter with this nested mirrors optic proposed by Oliver Zimmer, one of my colleagues in HighNESS. And one of the first results may indicate a production of 2.5 to the 7 neutron per second from the volume of the superfluid helium. So let's wrap it up. And at the present, the HighNESS team is very busy in exploring the different UCN and VCN ideas that were discussed at the workshop. We are also trying to improve the call moderator and match the emission from the service with the optics for the NN-bar experiment. And also, we are planning several experimental campaigns, PSI, ILL, and the Budapest Neutron Center, that also hosted a talk to test the novel reflectors and validate the scattering libraries that we've been developing in HighNESS. That was all by me. Thank you for your attention, and I will be eager to hear your question.